Oh, hello there. That's the penguin here. I'd like to talk about a little known program, Openrgb. Are you tired of the rainbow barf? The blow? Endless software wars just to control your PC's RGB? Every manufacturer demanding their own proprietary resource hogging app. IQ, Aura, RGB Fusion. You end up with a dozen conflicting programs competing for your system resources.
Excuse me. Something wrong with my voice there for a second. In this episode, we're going to be talking about Openrgb and how it works. Okay. Openrgb works by reverse engineering the proprietary communication protocols used by various RGB devices, motherboards, RAMs, GPUs, fans, peripherals, etc. Instead of relying on the manufacturer's official software, Openrgb directly communicates with the hardware's RGB controllers using low-level methods like USB or the system management bus. This allows it to bypass the official, often bloated software and consolidate control into a single, lightweight application. It's built on a cross-platform foundation, meaning it runs on Linux, Mac OS, and Windows. Yay for Windows. Furthermore, its software development kit enables third-party apps to integrate with it for advanced features like game synchronization and music visualization. Why should you use Openrgb? Well, one, it eliminates bloatware and resource hogs. The manufacturer's RGB software is notorious for consuming excessive CPU and RAM, potentially hurting your system's performance. Openrgb is a lightweight alternative that significantly reduces the software's overhead. Point number 2, true cross-platform control. It's a game changer for Linux and Mac OS users, finally bringing comprehensive RGB control to these operating systems, a feature often exclusive to Windows-only proprietary apps. If you're trying to get away from Windows, and you're a gamer, and you have RGB, just saying. Point number 3, open source and community driven. Being open source means that the code is transparent and constantly improved by a community of developers. Or is it a single developer? Not sure. Anyways, this also translates to ongoing support for new devices without waiting for proprietary software updates. Point number 4, extensible functionality via plugins. The Openrgb SDK and plugin system allows for powerful third-party integrations such as music visualizers, hardware temperature syncs, and advanced visual mapping effects across multiple devices. Now, if you notice in the background, I'm showing you some of this. At least it should be there, hopefully. And at least one bullet point here. It's not compatible with all hardware. Because Openrgb is based on reverse engineering, it can sometimes be unstable or incomplete for certain devices. In rare cases, particularly with DDR5 RAM, and I've got DDR5 RAM and it works perfectly fine on my system, some users have reported issues like corruption of the SPD, serial presence detect, due to improper SM bus access. And another negative is the user interface usually isn't as polished as it is on Windows. Compared to polished big budget proprietary applications, Openrgb's interface can be less intuitive or visually appealing. Certain features, especially on Linux for specific hardware like those using SM bus, may require additional setup steps or troubleshooting, e.g. running as administrator or installing the UDEV rules. And on Bazite, the UDEV rules are already there. When I was on Pika OS, I had installed the UDEV rules On Zorin OS 18, I had to install the UDEV rules also. So I'm pretty sure, like 95% of the distributions out there, you will have to install the UDEV rules on them to get this to work properly. Alrighty, now we're on the website. You go to openrgb.org/index.html, and you'll be greeted with this wonderful page right here. And you got 3 options for download. You can try it on Windows if you have Windows. Put it on your Linux box or your Mac OS, whatever the heck they call it these days. And for distributions, instead of the app image, if you click down here, I already got that up over here. There are other ways to install it. You have Debian Bookworm, Debian Trixie, works on ARM Linux as well, apparently. Windows Pawn IO recommended. This is recommended for Windows. Get that one right there. Stop it. There it goes. All right. Oh, where was I? There's a Fedora package RPM for it, and there's a Debian. Also an app image, which is what I grabbed. I just grabbed the app image because that works across all of them. I even had that over on Nabarro. And I can't remember if the UW rules were there or not. Anybody with Fedora or Nabarro, there's a chance to figure it out. Alrighty, I just want to do a quick video about Openrgb. I am actually impressed. Now, I played around with this a little bit on a Windows system, and I have RGB RAM. And the Windows system doesn't have a CD key installed in it at the time. And that RAM, I could not change it at all. Period. 0 zip. And inside my BIOS, if I allowed Windows to control the lighting features, I couldn't do anything with my lights at all. Period. So I went into the BIOS and turned it off. And everything worked but the RAM. But I figured a way around it. I went into Linux, set the RAM color, and then rebooted into Windows, and it's stuck. The workaround, but it worked. Yeah. If you want to open RGB to work all the way across the board, I would probably recommend installing the CD key in there. And speaking of Windows, I did install it on a hard drive that I have. And I'm going to be doing side-by-side comparisons between Linux distributions and Windows. And let me tell you, it has been a flipping nightmare with that operating system. First off, couldn't get it installed all the way on there. It took me, I don't know, like 4 tries and 3 hours to figure out that it was the bootloader that PicoOS had on their hard drive. Windows could see that and wouldn't install. So I disconnected the hard drive. My secure boot was on, TPM was turned on, UE5 was on, everything was on, and it refused to install. Just because of the PicoOS bootloader. Wonderful. And the fact that it could see into my system and prevent me being able to use Openrgb when the Windows lighting system was turned on. The thing with Openrgb would literally slow down and lock up. And I couldn't change the RAM, the color in the RAM at all. 0. Lovely little system. Figured that out finally. But the bootloader thing, and it got installed, and bling this and bling that. Oh, I've gotten so spoiled on Linux. That was a nightmare. And then there was an update to the system, and my passcode got wiped out, or supposedly disappeared, or something, and they wanted me to log into a Microsoft account. Because I'd upgraded from Windows 10 to Windows 11, so I could do the local account. Windows 11 didn't like that. After the second round of updates, sorry, you gotta log into your Microsoft account. And, well, I logged into my Microsoft account because I do have one from, I don't know, 12 to 14 years ago that I started, that I've kept active. I, go in there like once every 4 or 5 months just to make sure that they don't delete it. Because I do have friends that email me occasionally on that one from an old gaming community that I'm associated with, or was associated with. But yeah, all right, that's pretty much that in a nutshell. Yeah, if you go down here, and then there's Openrgb pipeline experimental, SDK version 5, plugin API version 4, supports the supported devices for experimental. And there's the experimental branch. But let's go back to the main one. Okay. There's a lightweight user interface. Eliminates bloatware. Open source. I already mentioned that. It's cross-platform, which I already mentioned. Openrgb SDK. That is a feature. It has to be a feature when that mouse pointer gets that big. Explore Openrgb plugins. Now the plugins, I've played around with them, and you've just seen one. Probably all of them are in the beginning while I'm rambling and stuff. I'll be adding that in there, so you'll be able to see changes and pretty much the lighting effects. Christmas time, yay! Sure. Okay. Anyways, plugin interface, Openrgb plugins. There was something else. Where was it? That. Let's click on this over here. Maybe it's over here. The devices, supported devices, pipeline, sizing zone, EDEV rules. Oh, I already talked about the EDEV rules. Now, the EDEV rules aren't very hard to install. What happens here is you download the install script, you run it. It does a curl or wget, grabs the actual script, and then runs the script. I'm not that big of a fan of doing it that way, but I went in and I took a look at the script. As far as I can tell, it's on the up and up. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm not a coder. I'm not a developer, but I do have a knack for looking at code and seeing how things are, I don't know, how do you put it, connected together, kind of work together. So yeah, like I said, I couldn't see anything wrong with it. It looks like it's on the up and up. Otherwise, you'd be having people screaming about it all over the internet. It's spyware, bloatware, ransomware. Ooh. Glad I don't have to deal with that anymore. Well, as long as I don't do anything stupid on that installation I put on this thing. That's it for this one. Thanks for watching. Yeah, you'll see some more stuff coming down the pipeline here pretty soon. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you then. Bios con Dios. Mahalo.
Good day. Yo, set your affirmations, aspirations. I got shit to do, the aftermath of preparation. Good food, good mood, blood in circulation. One step at a time, yeah, that's how you make it. Set a goal you control and the steps you take them. I try to pick one thought, have some concentration. And if I make a mistake, it's called education. I try to do this every day, call it replication.